the goats are alive. I mean, that's a good thing, right? So in April, I should probably say I decided it was a good idea to add to our plate and go ahead and just get goats. Not know anything about them, just giving them a shot. So we got goats. And we've been trying this rotational grazing system that we've read about. And for the most part, it's worked out all right. It's a learning process, and each time we move them, we learn a little bit. I think the most interesting thing that we have found is the season and the weather greatly affects how the land recovers after you get animals off of it. So this is a temporary setup that we have for them. This is just a simple 3-sided shelter with the roof on it. It's portable, sort of. It takes 3 people to move it. But we have this for them to stay in, inclement weather and get out of the wind and just feel protected and have a place to go to hide out. And so we got the shelter, and then we have also this Premier One poultry netting, which we're super happy with. We have 4 rolls of 100-foot sections, and so this pen is 50 by 50. And so we've gotten the hang of it now to where it doesn't take us very long to set up the next paddock whenever we rotate them, whenever we move them. But that's what we like about it, is it's super adaptable and super portable. And if newbies like us can do it with this equipment, then anybody can do it, from our opinion. And so what we do is we have to measure out where the 50 feet is, and take the brush hog and we mow a swath just to knock the high stuff down. And then we roughly lay out our posts, our fencing of where we want it. And then from there we come through with a weed eater and we pick up the posts and we have to weed eat the path. Otherwise, if you get the growth of vegetation touching the netting, then you're going to short out and you're not going to have as much juice going across the entire system. And we've learned from that in terms of making sure that we don't have any shorts, making sure our vegetation's short. And also that whenever we put these support posts in that have the metal piece at the bottom, metal step at the bottom, that doesn't touch any of the netting, because then it'll short out also. We learned that the hard way. So we set these up. So like the next time we move them, they're going to be moved over here. This is the next area. So we'll measure 50 feet down this way and then 50 feet over and make a square, and we'll set up the other fencing, the 2 rows that we have, and then we'll open up both ends and we'll move them into here. And so this is the pen that the goats are currently in. I think we moved them in here this past Tuesday. So what, 4 or 5 days ago? When we moved them in here, it looked like what you see over here. See, there's not much green stuff, but there still is some green stuff in here. A lot of it is horseweed. That's a lot of what you're seeing. There's some Johnson grass that's in here, like some right there. I think this is, where you at? I think this right here is called gold aster, I believe. And then there's something else. It's called prairie tea, but we had a lot of it, and now it's starting to dry out though. But you can see right here, I believe this is called prairie tea. And then looks like you might have some black-eyed Susans in here as well. You got that. You got the sandburrs. Got quite a few sandburrs. And I think that's about it in terms of what's in here. There was some prickly lettuce that you can still see some of the tops of in some areas, like right over here. That was prickly lettuce. Nothing on it except just the stems, dried out stems. But so this is what we're moving the goats into. We have this set up in squares for different reasons, but we divided this up into squares, and so this square we're looking to get at least 2 weeks per rotation. So this one square that you see right here, we should get about a month and a half, maybe 2 months out of it. And then whenever they're done with that, we'll see what they do, and we'll see what this spot looks like over here. But this spot, same setup. It's got a square. We got this spot right here that they're going to move into, and then this spot over here they'll move into. So with any luck, we got about another week where they're at right now, and then we'll have maybe a month and a half, 2 months out of this spot, month and a half, 2 months out of this spot, and a month and a half, 2 months out of this spot. So the goal is to get them up here in a permanent shelter. And we're hoping to do that sometime this winter. We got a lot of projects lined up. We got to put pencil to paper and see which ones we want to attack and which ones we want to postpone. But we're looking to get a permanent goat shelter up here, probably somewhere up on the hill. So somewhere up on this flat spot, get a permanent shelter right here, something we can close them in at night, something fenced in. Close them in at night, keep them safe from predators. And then from here, we're gonna have paddocks radiating out all around. And we're gonna rotate them through, kind of like what we're doing right now. So not quite sure what that looks like at this moment. Don't know if it's gonna be squares or rectangles or triangles, whatever it is. Don't know how big it's gonna be, but that's the plan. And so that's what this whole experiment's been, them being confined to this electric fencing, which has been great, but moving them about every 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, depending on how fast they go with where they're at. But experimenting with just rotational grazing. And so it's been really interesting seeing what they do and seeing how the land reacts after they've been on it. And so we'll go over that and show you exactly how the land's reacted, because that's pretty interesting. So we got the goats in April, and we got them for a variety of reasons. One, to help with maintaining the North 10, do the rotational grazing thing to where I didn't have to mow as much with the tractor and put as many hours on the tractor. I like to keep it maintained up here. I like to simulate grazing, so I like to mow pretty often. And so I wanted to see what they would do and how they would help with maintaining the North 10. And so we got them in April, and plus we want to start breeding them and raising them for meat and kids and all that stuff. So we got them in April, and we placed them on this first section right here. Mind you, April, it was still pretty wet. April, May, June. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was still pretty wet. But you can see right here, this was the first spot. This was the first spot that we had them. And we had them here for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And then we rotated them to the east. And you can see that, I mean, that's probably a good 3.5, 4 foot tall. It grew back. And this is just the prickly lettuce that you see, obviously Johnson grass. I can't remember what this thing's called. It's like a golden globe or gold globe or something like that. What else is in here? Horseweed's in here. What else grew back? The buffalo gourd, that definitely grew back. I think there's some ground cherry over here, right in that spot right there. But this grew back with a vengeance, and it hasn't been touched. So whenever we take them off, what I'll do is I will mow the stubble down to about, I don't know, 3-4 inches, and then I just let it go. You know, whatever they don't eat, I knock down, and then we just let it go and let nature run its course. And so this is what it's done. And this was middle of April, if I remember correctly. I think it was April 12th, 10th or 12th or something, when we first got them on the farm. So it's been a while for this one. And as you move to the next paddock, and as you move on to where they rotated from, you can definitely see a difference. So this was the second place that they were on. And so here you see a lot more. I believe this is crabgrass. The crabgrass came back. The prickly lettuce came back. The horseweed, not as much. But you compare that area over there to this area right here, and there's a marked difference. There's pigweed also. But interesting thing is, why did it get so much taller growth over here and not as much tall growth over here? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there is an answer to that. You know, somebody probably knows, but as you move on, and it's shorter, but you can see the carpet of, like I said, what I believe to be crabgrass. And as you move on, you get shorter and shorter and less diverse. So this is where we had a bale of hay for them to jump on and play on. But you have crabgrass, horseweed, and pigweed. And so this would have been number 3. This would have been number 4. Same thing, the height is just going down except for the Johnson grass. But you got some yellow foxtail over here that popped up, which is kind of interesting. And as we move north, got black-eyed Susan. Black-eyed Susans just pop up in just random spots. It's fun to watch. But still, you keep going north where they rotated through. You got here to where you still have the crabgrass coming up, the yellow foxtail, you know, the grasses, Johnson grass, pigweed. And as you go through, this crabgrass is thick, but you don't see anything else in here, which is weird. So you go from that first plot over there, that's super tall, and then you got this plot right here that you just have crabgrass and nothing else tall. And then you got the most recent areas. So you don't have too much other growth here. Crabgrass is coming up in some areas. We had some love grass coming up in some areas. I believe that's love grass. Now the rye's starting to come up because we got some bare ground, which is good. You got pigweed. The tall stuff is the pigweed. And as we move over, we'll walk over to the last spot they were on. As we keep moving, ground cover is less and less, which I don't like. I'd rather have a lot more ground cover than there is. So this would have been the second to last spot that we had them. And it's all brown. There's nothing growing here. You got a little green poking through, but for the most part, it's just dead. There's no activity. You still have a little ground cover though with the residue from prior mowings that I've done, which is good. It's one of the good things about mowing as much as I have, is it's provided an armor onto the soil, which I want. But then this area right here is the last spot that they were on before we moved them to where they're at now. And so same thing, you can see there's no green in here really. Little spots here and there, but for the most part there's nothing growing. And so one of the biggest reasons for that recently is it's all a matter of moisture. And you can definitely tell as you go through the plots. Essentially you can look at the calendar and look at the moisture levels for the time frames, and you tell where the moisture just cut off, especially over here to where you quit getting the crabgrass. And where that crabgrass stopped is pretty much when we stopped getting that moisture. And the only reason why we have some of this ryegrass coming up now is because we had a little bit of moisture in the end of August. So because of that, we've had some growth. But for the most part, we haven't had much. And so it's been really interesting, like I said, it's been really interesting to see how the land's recovered, and how it's recovered pretty much based on weather and timing and seasonality. I know that rotational grazing, school of thought is you only want them to graze down to a certain amount. You don't want to take the whole plant. And I wasn't too worried about what we had out here, only because I wanted to see what they would eat. And then also I wasn't too worried about what was out here. I'd rather get grasses and stuff out here. And so they can eat as much pigweed as they want, eat as much horseweed as they want, you know. I don't care about that. It'll give room for the grasses. And so I know you're supposed to go down, I think, what is it, like no more than 2/3 of the plant or 1/3 of the plant, so it doesn't die, and it makes sense. And then you guys supposed to get them off of it. Well, we don't really subscribe to that, and about every 2 weeks we'll move them. And so, does it hurt the area? Maybe. I mean, I'm standing on dry, brown dirt right now, so part of me says that we did something wrong and we didn't do what we were supposed to, or do it like we were supposed to. But then the other part of me knows that once we get some rain, this will green right back up, I believe, because the other area is greened right up. So I don't know. It's one of those things when you're starting out, you don't know if you're doing it right, you don't know if you're doing it wrong. It's just trial and error. So you don't know until you try it out. I can read all I want about it. I understand concepts. But once I start experimenting on my own land, on our own land, with our own animals and our own system, that's when we really get an idea of what to do and what not to do. So, I mean, definitely lessons learned. I know that now we're going to go every week and a half, 2 weeks, we're going to move them no matter what. Doesn't matter what the vegetation looks like. Doesn't matter if they've eaten all of it or not. And generally, that's been what we've waited on, is there anything left in there for them to eat? And if so, then we just leave them in there. But now we'll just go every week and a half, 2 weeks, we'll move them no matter what. And then we'll go in and we'll knock it down still, 3-4 inches, just to get rid of all the stuff that they didn't eat and just get a fresh clean slate. But I know that there is volunteer rye under here, and I really want that rye to take hold and start taking off. And so this crabgrass cover, is covering the soil, which is great. You don't have to worry about erosion, but it's also covering that ryegrass. So I got to cut. One of the reasons for making this video today is I need to cut all this stuff that we just walked through. I need to cut all this, and especially that stuff over there, that super thick stuff over there. Need to cut it to try to get that rye a shot, give that rye a shot. So it's definitely been interesting. It's been a learning experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. We enjoy doing what we're doing, enjoy the process. And the goats are alive. I mean, that's a good thing, right? It shouldn't be your litmus test, but if you're trying stuff out and you're doing stuff and your animals are staying alive, you gotta be doing something right. You gotta hang your hat on that. Can you improve stuff? Absolutely. Without a doubt, 100%, you can improve whatever process you're doing. But you also have to find the wins, the small wins in what you're doing. I'd say they're doing all right. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed the tour. If you have any comments, suggestions, let me know. It's obvious that the land reacts according to, one, the season, and two, just the weather. You know, you enter the hot time of the summer and the dry time of the summer, you're gonna have some issues. And we obviously see the different stages of growth and the different seasons with where we've rotated them through. So thanks for watching. As always, stay rooted.